And answer whichever questions you want to answer as well. We're back with you at 4:15 and I promise you the answer then. But right now, it is time for 5 Live Formula One. It's Monaco Grand Prix. No mucking about now. This is the all-important qualifying. Harry Benjamin.
Thank you very much, Kevin Howes and the team. Back to you after one of the most important sessions of the year, let alone the weekend. It is time for the best Saturday of the year. 20 Formula One cars are about to take to the streets of Monte Carlo, reaching maximum speeds of over 290 kilometres an hour as they thread their way around 19 corners over 3.3 kilometres. The most famous track in Formula One. One of only 4 that remain on the calendar from that first official championship season in 1950. It's one where Sunday's race is determined hugely by where you line up on the grid. But perils await you in qualifying. One mistake and your lap slips away. If you're lucky, you might well miss the walls. But traffic from 19 other cars on a circuit that with modern day regulations would not pass the test, steeped in history, it is allowed to continue. My name's Harry Benjamin. I'm up in the commentary box, which overlooks the short drag between the exit of the swimming pool chicane down towards Rascasse. We get a brilliant view of the pit lane from the very top, where McLaren, Ferrari and Red Bull find themselves, all the way to Sauber and their green livery just in the distance to our right. And well, the sun shining down on the ground with our eyes and ears. It's Rosanna Tennant.
Oh, Harry, I'm so looking forward to this session. As you say, the sun is shining, but it's a little cooler than it was during FP3. It's dropped about a degree, but still sunny with a gentle breeze. And as I look across the harbour, it is jam-packed with super yachts. And if I look up into the hills around the Principality, the balconies of the apartments and the flats in this wonderful place are jam-packed too. Everybody is finding their seat ready for this qualifying session. I tell you what, the excitement is building down here in the pits.
It certainly is. Thanks, Rosanna. We'll be checking in with you throughout this qualifying session. Q1 about to get underway in the next few minutes. Delighted to say, alongside myself in the commentary box, as always, the BBC's F1 correspondent Andrew Benson and the 1996 Formula One World Champion Damon Hill. Damon, practice has set us up nicely for what is one of the best Saturdays of the year.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of drama here and there. We had the end of the session, actually the FB3 session, with Lewis Hamilton stopping the session by going off, trying to avoid some slow cars. So, yeah, some spills and also some thrills with some very, very fast times put down by the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. And the question, I suppose, for the championship is, can the McLarens pull something out, which they may have been keeping the powder dry. You don't know what happens until you get to this part of the weekend, and this is the best part of the weekend, the best part of, I think, the year. Qualifying in Monaco is absolutely the final test of your abilities, of your speed and precision and your ability to concentrate and deliver under pressure. It's the most exciting, I think. The last 5 minutes of qualifying here is probably the most exciting you get in motor racing. We get a lot of excitement in Formula One, but this is very special.
Well, the cars already heading out of their garages and queuing up in the pit lane. The pit lane quite narrow here, absolutely packed out. The pit wall isn't allowed to actually be on the usual wall of the pits. It's actually built inside the building that sits above the garages. Then there's a third tier where special guests are absolutely piling out onto the balconies. Then you stare at the many terraces, the houses, the flats that overlook this circuit, and every single balcony is packed to the brim with fans, residents, VIPs, the rich and famous. If they're not on a balcony, you'll find them in the harbour on one of the absolutely massive yachts that has come for the weekend to enjoy some Formula One racing in Monte Carlo. Damon mentioned Lewis Hamilton there had a big crash at the end of free practice 3. Andrew Benson, if I can bring you in on this, what have Ferrari and Hamilton had to do in between FP3 to get this car ready for qualifying?
So they've changed the nose, front wing, right front suspension and the entire rear end, so both sides of the front of the rear suspension and the gearbox, because they say that's a quicker job at the back of the car than just changing one side of the suspension. But I've just seen Hamilton go down towards the end of the pit lane to queue for the green light to go on, so everything seems to be in order.
Yeah, well, good to see Hamilton out there then, two-time pole sitter of course for the 40-year-old from Stevenage. It's his teammate though, Charles Leclerc, who has topped every session so far. It was a 1:10.9 at the end of FP3. That was his quickest lap, almost 3/10 clear of Max Verstappen. Bit of uncertainty as well as to what the tyre situation is going to be. Pirelli bringing once again the softer step in the range, the same as last weekend in Imola, the C4 hard, the C5 medium and the C6 soft. There was some debate between the medium and the soft. Which one will work best for qualifying? And as they peel out, the green light is on. I'm seeing red-walled rubber on the two Williams that are heading out. Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz, along with Esteban Ocon, they're all electing to go on that softer rubber, which, well, didn't always give the most immediate improvement in FP3, but did eventually after a couple of laps.
Yeah, we saw this a little bit at Imola, the previous race, where people were not necessarily convinced about the softer tyre. You'd think that more softer rubber and grippier rubber would be an advantage, but not always. Sometimes the drivers get bad feedback, and also they can overheat. They don't even last a whole lap. So if you were around when they had qualifying tyres in Formula 1, as I was, I didn't actually use them myself, but this was a big drama. The qualifying tyre was just a one-lap tyre, and the skill which Ayrton Senna was particularly good at was to make the tyre last an entire lap. So we're down to these very soft tyres with the softest red wall tyres that they use, the Q6,
the C6.
C6, beg your pardon. The C6 is the very, very softest they can do at Pirelli, and we're not sure that they last in a whole lap. So we saw a lot of prep and different tactics in FP3 where teams and drivers were trying different approaches. You may be able to get a good last two sectors, but the first sector you maybe have to give up a bit because you don't want to overheat it to start with. So a lot of drama, and also the race itself. This may be a race tyre, may have to be used in their session in the race, because we've got this new rule where you have to have 2 stops in the race. So their tyre allocation here is really a challenge for everybody, and which tyres are going to use in qualifying. We saw Max Verstappen do fantastic times on very old medium tyres, for example.
Yeah, and he couldn't improve on the soft Damon, could he? He was struggling with a really quite bad oversteer on the soft tyre, couldn't make it work at all. Even Charles Leclerc, who's been the fastest man over one lap so far this weekend in the Ferrari, to his own surprise, I think, after what he was saying on Thursday, even he had to have a couple of goes at it before he worked out how to make the soft tyre go for a lap. Now, I didn't see which Alpine it was, but I'm pretty sure I saw an Alpine going out of the pits on medium. So it's both of them, both Pierre Gasly and Franco Colapinto on the medium. It's only the first run, of course, in qualifying, but I suspect we may see the medium a bit more in qualifying than we're used to seeing, apart from in Imola last weekend.
Just over 15 minutes left of this Q1 session. Those out laps being completed and then first flying laps done. Still no sign of Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri or George Russell. They have stayed in the pits. What's going to be so crucial in this first session, with 20 drivers all on this just over 3.3 kilometre track, is going to be managing where you are on the circuit. You want to get that first lap, that first banker in, because all it takes, Damon, doesn't it, is for somebody to have a crash, a yellow flag, and then you are massively on the back foot and could well be in danger of being eliminated.
Yeah, for the guys at the sharp end, the guys we expect to get through to Q3, their job is to get a good enough lap in and not overcook it, because they feel confident they're going to be fighting for pole position. The guys at the back, they desperately want to get out of the drop zone and into Q2, for example. So we're on board with Nico Hülkenberg at the moment, who's putting in an early lap, which looks like, well, a 1:13.3 is not going to stand the test, I don't think, for anyone. So will he go for another run? Will he do a cool-down lap? But the pressure is on those guys in the early part of qualifying.
There can even be jeopardy for the front runners in this first part of qualifying at Monaco, because the track evolution is so high. You can do a lap, you might think it's okay, but if the track evolution is more than you expect, grip ramps up very quickly at Monaco when you've got 20 cars going around absolutely on the limits as they are now. You can find yourself caught out. In fact, it happened to Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari a few years ago when he was looking to be set for pole position, but Ferrari completely messed up their strategy and he ended up in the pits and out in Q1. He's just going on a quick lap now, though, as he comes through the swimming pool section, so they all have to watch out for that too.
Fastest of anybody so far through the middle sector is Charles Leclerc. Alex Albon with a 1:13.1 goes to the top of the times. In this first part of Q1, we're looking to eliminate the slowest 5 drivers. So everybody from 17th downwards will head out the way. Charles Leclerc to the top of the times by less than a tenth of a second. Just a bit of housekeeping to clean up as well. There will be a second mandatory pit stop introduced for Sunday's Grand Prix, because Pirelli and the FIA working to try and make Sunday's race here in Monaco a little bit more exciting and trying to increase the strategic calls that can be made. Now mandatory for all 20 drivers to run 3 sets of tyres, which is going to have an impact on what we see throughout qualifying today. Also a couple of grid penalties coming into qualifying too. 1 place for Lance Stroll, that was for his FP1 incident with Charles Leclerc, and also 10 places for Oliver Behrman in the Haas, who was caught overtaking whilst the red flags were out in practice too, so he will start towards the back. What could somebody like he do when it comes to Sunday's Grand Prix? We shall see, but very much this is still all about Saturday as Lando Norris makes his way all the way uphill into Massenet, a long arcing left-hander before you chuck it right through Casino Square, the casino to your right, as you then head downhill towards Mirabeau, a banked right-hand corner that takes you back downhill towards the hairpin, full lock as you head through the left-hander, turn number 6, and then through the right-hander of Portier that leads you into the tunnel from the sunlight into the darkness, still lit, but of course the visor having to deal as you then emerge from the darkness of the tunnel into the light, downhill, out through the tunnel into the Nouvelle Chicane, left, then right, thread the needle as you head towards Tabac, the fastest left-hander on this circuit, as they make their way perilously close to the wall, through the swimming pool chicane, out over the curbs, keeping it as smooth as you like. Lando Norris, this is his first lap that we will see. Bit of traffic in front of him in the Mercedes, shouldn't disturb him too much. Up and over the crest at Anthony Noakes, through the right-hander, onto the start-finish straight. The DRS flies open, and he goes fastest by 18 thousandths of a second, a 1:12.860.
Yeah, that was a very good lap, actually. As a banker, I think that was fairly clean. There was very little traffic. The traffic that was there got out of his way. So the communication working well between the pit wall and the guys who need to pull off the track and let the faster car through. So an untroubled and good banker there for Lando Norris.
Certainly is. Max Verstappen, after waiting rather a while to head out onto the track, has now done so and is beginning his first flying lap, and he has put on that soft tyre. So only the 2 Alpines have gone for that medium tyre. Everybody out on the track now, 20 cars. It's Piastri who goes to the top of the times, a 1:12.439, but Charles Leclerc is fastest in the middle sector. Lewis Hamilton out there as well. At the moment, Colapinto is in 16th. Everybody from that position downwards will be eliminated come the end of the next 10.5 minutes. Bortoletto moved down into 18th. Russell and Verstappen as we still await times. Leclerc to the top, a 1:12.0. His teammate 3/10 back. Lewis Hamilton pops up into second after Ferrari rebuilding essentially the rear end of that car after his late FP3 crash a couple of hours ago.
I have to say, Lewis has looked quite happy with his car, and he seems to be reasonably competitive, and he's saying positive things. So I do see a little feisty. He's got a bit more of a spring in his step after Imola. You know, I think he had a good run there, and that's given him hope, given him confidence. So he's going well round here at this stage of the weekend. But these times will rapidly, the quickest time will be rapidly uncompetitive, because the rate, as you said, of the evolution of the track is astonishing here. It's a bit like a drag strip. You know, the rubber goes down, the tyres spin as they come out of slow corners, but as the rubber goes onto the track gets incredibly grippy with 20 cars going round, and I'm looking at the numbers. All of them are done over about 5 laps. So 5 times 20, what's that? Harry, quick maths. But it's hundreds of passes now, I think, on a particular corner where the track is getting rubber laid down. So you think you've done a great lap, you come in and you look at the times, and then by the time you go out, you're 18th. You know, it is going to be extremely a fast-moving target.
100.
That's 100. Did I say 100? Anyway,
5 times 20.
5 times 20 is 100. And into the hundreds, so as I said. So 100 times, you think about that. That's the way I used to calculate whether the track was evolving. I'd say how many laps have been on this track. And so now, by the time 20 minutes is up, we'll have 200. But of course, there is a knock-on effect. When we get to Q3, there'll be fewer cars on track. Naturally, there'll be 10. And so the track evolution sometimes comes to a halt. So this is the point of the weekend where the track evolution is fast. And you have to be out at the right time. As we watch Oscar Piastri finishing his lap. What time will this be? He's already put in quite a good lap. Lando has already put in the quickest lap at 11.5, and Piastri just behind him, as always, not far, nothing, a feeler gauge width between these two guys. They're never more than a tenth or so apart, as Oscar Piastri is second. So we've now seen the pace of the McLaren.
Fine margins between them, though, or Oscar Piastri won't be pleased to see that he's nearly 2/10 off his teammate. I tell you what, Lando Norris looks like he has had a bit of an edge over his Australian teammate so far this weekend. The two Williams running well. Carlos Sainz just crossed the line to go 6th behind his teammate Alex Albon. Of course, we still focus on that bottom 5. Isaac Hadjar, the French rookie in the Racing Bulls, who had a couple of crashes yesterday in free practice too, as that knocked his confidence slightly. It's the first time really he's been behind his teammate Liam Lawson. Hadjar in 16th, Nico Hulkenberg's down in 17th, along with Franco Colapinto, who went out on the medium tyre, Lance Stroll 19th, and Pierre Gasly, who also went out on the medium tyre with his Alpine teammate, down in 20th. If it ended now, they would all be knocked out. George Russell was reporting earlier his brakes were smoking on the team radio, and he has been off the pace so far this weekend. Can't find the time within his Mercedes car. He's down in 15th at the moment. His teammate Kimi Antonelli is up in 9th spot. Max Verstappen crosses the line, doesn't improve despite going fastest of anybody in the first sector. The lap falling away from him as it went by. He still stays 2/10 down in 4th.
Yeah, so I had a quick chance to ask Christian Horner about what was going on with the soft tyre. They can't make the tyre last, so Max has not been happy on that softest of tyres. And to just underline my point, I'm looking at currently, we've got Lawson is in the drop zone, 16th, and he at one time was quickest. So he's a second, the track has gone away from him.
Oh my gosh, who's that? Surfing from Stroll.
That was Pierre Gasly getting all crossed up as he headed across the Nouvelle chicane down the inside of this man.
I thought Leclerc was Gasly, man. Can't see the difference in the sun.
Now that's the second time Lance Stroll has had a little issue with impeding. It's so difficult round here. That has been noted and will be investigated after the session.
Yeah, so that was a bit of confusion, and he actually cleared that point up. He would have been told there's a car behind you, and it basically he got surprised by, I think it was a Ferrari instead. So he's let someone through thinking that it's all over, and then of course he's blocked Gasly, and Gasly had to take the escape road. And this is so perilous around Monaco now, with cars on hot laps and cars trying their best to get out of the way. As I watch Kimi Antonelli, I think, going up the hill to Massenet, just being passed by Nico Hulkenberg, and I can tell you for certain, getting two cars up that hill is no mean feat. The road is not straight, it meanders, and so you have to tuck in against the barrier. There's hardly any room for two cars to go up that hill.
Oscar Piastri finds time, goes to the top, 2/10 clear now of his teammate Lando Norris. Better lap time a moment ago too for George Russell in the Mercedes. He's popped himself up into 4th. It's Piastri, Norris, Leclerc, Russell, Verstappen, the top 5. Hamilton is 6th. The two Williams cars on outlaps at the moment, 7th and 8th. Then it comes Alonso and Antonelli, the top 10. Behrman is 11th ahead of Tsunoda. Bortoletto is 13th. Ocon, Stroll, the top 15. Lawson in that elimination zone down in 16th, along with his teammate Isaac Hadjar. Nico Hulkenberg, who is up on time to get himself up into the top 15. Having to navigate a fair bit of traffic, though, coming through the Nouvelle chicane. He's now at Rascasse, currently 18th, only ahead of the two Alpine cars. Let's see what Hulkenberg can do. Pretty good around the lap here. Last points in Monaco came way back in 2018, and he pops himself up into 6th in a Sauber that isn't too bad when it comes to qualifying trim, but the race pace is not there for them at the moment. 15 years in Formula One for Nico Hulkenberg this year.
6/10 quicker, Nick Hulkenberg, than his previous lap. Now, some of that will be because he's wound up a bit more, but also it's mostly track evolution. So the track is ramping up as we speak. So that's, people are going to be sinking like stones unless you get a good lap in now. It's no good sitting back and being comfortable with, say, even 10th place. As I say that, I watched Carlos Sainz, who was 10th, go down to 11th.
This could be a last man over the line. Charles Leclerc flying in the first sector, fastest of anybody out there. Worth noting as well, half the track all the way from Tabac through to Massenet has been resurfaced coming into this weekend to make it smoother, to match the other half of the track as well. That will all throw an impact into how the tyres are treated, but how quickly the speed ramps up. Leclerc to the line, finds a 10th and a half to put himself at the top, a 1:11.229. That puts Yuki Tsunoda down into 16th spot, the Japanese driver, who may well be on the back foot with not quite the same specification of car as his teammate Max Verstappen after a huge crash in Imola that saw Tsunoda barrel roll in that Red Bull. Good to see him walk away from that one, but may well be paying the price, at least here this weekend, with perhaps a car that doesn't have all the new shiny bits on it. Colapinto, 20th, does improve his time. That's the sound you just heard as he was easing off down through Sainte Devote. Tsunoda is up on time though, 2.5 tenths to get himself ahead of Alonso, who is the next man at risk of being eliminated. Lawson pops himself up into 13th. Albon's on a decent run of it as well. He's currently sitting in 11th spot, so the two Williams cars trying to find more time. Tsunoda to the line, finds himself up inside the top 10, puts himself into 9th place. Bit of breathing room then for the Japanese driver at Red Bull. Bortoleto, Alonso, Behrman, Stroll, Colapinto, those are the drivers in danger at the moment. All out there on laps again, all looking like they're on out laps. They'll get enough time for one flyer, but looking at the track map as well, so difficult to find yourself clean air and a good run of it. This is the sound of Carlos Sainz. His teammate Alex Albon has just gone up into the top 4, 4 tenths adrift of Charles Leclerc. The Williams continue to show their good pace.
So I'm got my eyes on Lewis Hamilton now, who was right up the sharp end, and now he's 12th, 13th as I speak. He's on an out lap. He has to get a good lap in. He's getting very close to the drop zone now. Liam Lawson, who propelled himself up from 16th, he went up to about 8th, and now he's back down to 15th. So just to try and emphasize this incredibly difficult qualifying session, you have to be out as Lewis Hamilton. We're watching Lewis building up for a lap. He's crawling along to the last corner before he starts his final run of qualifying, and he has to make this stick. Its pressure is on, I think you'll have to say, for Lewis for this lap.
A crash in the closing stages of free practice 3 for Lewis Hamilton, now into the closing stages of Q1. The 7-time champ is currently 8 tenths down in 13th. It's not good enough right now with those behind all beginning laps in the closing stages with 50 seconds to go, making his way through Casino Square, downhill, under the trees as the shade looms over parts of this Monte Carlo circuit, into the hairpin, full left hand down for Lewis Hamilton. Been on pole here twice, has won here 3 times. What he would give for a good showing this weekend for his first Monaco Grand Prix, driving the Scarlet car, but he's down on time in that first sector compared to Leclerc. Lawson, personal best in the first sector. Alonso, personal best in the first sector. Alonso looking good. He needs to get himself up inside that top 15. Top 5 qualifying last time in Imola. Can he match that? His teammate, though, Stroll, is right behind him too. Franco Colapinto looks like he's struggling to get out of Q1 in his second qualifying session back in the sport. His second Grand Prix weekend with Alpine. Verstappen takes the checkered flag, makes himself up into the top 3. What's Lewis Hamilton got? Down in 15th, fastest in the middle sector, puts himself up into 4th. Should be safe there. That puts Liam Lawson down into 16th. Good qualifying so far for Nico Hülkenberg, who cements himself up inside the top 10. Liam Lawson in the Racing Bulls has looked like he's had a turn of pace so far this weekend, has got himself up into the top 10. Alonso inside the top 7. Yuki Tsunoda, Isaac Hadjar, Kimi Antonelli are all at risk here as the track ramping up in these closing stages. Tsunoda inside the top 10. Bortoleto just inside the top 15 as the yellow flag comes out. Who's that going to affect? Isaac Hadjar still with his foot in it across the line, 11th place. That puts Bortoleto down in 16th. The yellow flag is still out. It's coming through turns, it's coming through the Nouvelle chicane, and it's because it's Kimi Antonelli who's found the wall, so those behind aren't able to improve. Ironically, it's Antonelli who was right on the bubble in 15th, but that will put out Bortoleto, Behrman, Gasly, Stroll and Colapinto.
I think the only person that affected potentially is Lance Stroll. He was on a lap and he had to back off. The others, Bortoleto, had finished his lap already. So bad luck for Lance Stroll. I'm not saying he would have qualified, I don't know, but he was definitely on a lap that he had to abort.
Yeah, he was actually decent in the first sector, but Kimi Antonelli out of his car, and he's come through the Nouvelle chicane, and he's found the wall. He's out of the car. That's brought out the red flag, but the clock has ticked down to 0 anyway. Good to see Kimi Antonelli moving, but after being knocked out in Q2 last week at his home Grand Prix, he finds himself, well, through into Q2, but unable to take part with a crashed Mercedes. This is the sound of what happened, and as he comes into the Nouvelle chicane, he clips that inside barrier on the front left.
Very easy to do. It's so difficult. It's fine margins. We're watching a replay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry about you. Okay there?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the overwhelming emotion. Is you want to rewind the clock. You want to say sorry. You want to do anything you can to undo what's done, because he knows now that although he's made it through into the top 15, unfortunately he's not going to be taking part in any more of this qualifying, and so the rest of the pack will swamp him, I should think. But he'll be starting from 15th.
Yeah, let's see. Went in front wing damage there. We'll get the car back and see what can be done. Just confirming then, that is the end of Q1, and out of qualifying goes Gabriel Bortoleto in the Sauber. Misses Q2 by 22 thousandths of a second. Oliver Behrman, qualifying 17th, will start at the back with a 10th place grid penalty. And both Alpines, Pierre Gasly 18th. His teammate Franco Colapinto in 20th, and Lance Stroll, as Andrew was saying, was on a decent lap. Whether it would have got him out of Q1 or not remains to be seen, but certainly affected by Antonelli's crash. Stroll on the back row as it currently stands.
I think it would have been marginal for Stroll. Alonso's done an 11.674, and there's only 2/10 between him and Antonelli, who was the last person to qualify in 15th place. Stroll's been about 2/10 behind Alonso, a bit more actually all weekend, so it would have been pretty marginal for him, I think.
Well, drivers then back into their garages. Some get another bite at the cherry, but for those, well, 16th down to 20th and Kimi Antonelli, that is their qualifying done. Let's check in then with Rosanna Tennant.
Yeah, I've just been watching Lance Stroll looking very disappointed. And don't forget, he's got that one-place grid penalty as well. So this is going to be a weekend to forget for the Canadian driver. And I was interested when Kimi Antonelli hit the barrier. There were hands on heads and shakes of heads in the Mercedes garage. Everyone looking disappointed there as well. But it was lovely, wasn't it, hearing Peter Bollington, his race engineer, just checking he was okay. And that's been the way Mercedes have dealt with Antonelli. Obviously, last weekend, a little different in Imola, perhaps opening him up to too many distractions for his home race. But very sort of caring tone on the radio, and as you said, Damon, it's just all I'm sorry, wasn't it? So he'll be furious with himself. Looking forward to hopefully hearing from him when he comes to the media pen later.
Kimi Antonelli still saying he's adapting to the pressures of Formula One, still finishing school as well, and whilst he showed that pace in Miami, youngest ever pole sitter in Formula One, well, a crash in Q1.
Whoa! Lewis! Nice and feeding up.
Oh, that was Max Verstappen up through Massenet over the crest, and there he finds Lewis Hamilton. That incident is under investigation after the session. What did you make of it? Well, let's just hear from Hamilton first.
Verstappen pushing behind 3 seconds. Or he slowing down behind. Job yours.
He said he was slowing down. It's man.
Perhaps a bit of miscommunication there on the radio between Hamilton and his engineer, but it happened at the same location, well, where Hamilton found the wall in FP3.
Yeah, he's had a bit of a mare, actually, up in Massenet, isn't he? But so Lewis, but I mean, the information he got there was misleading. We're watching some replays of all guys touching barriers. We've got Alonso touching the rear end of his car, the barrier at the exit of the first corner, and Sandoval, and also Lewis on the exit of the swimming pool, also just tapping his right front. So they've all been pushing it, but we're watching now Kimi Antonelli walking back from his car. He's left it, and he's not going to be taking part in qualifying. And it was, again, too much of a touch with the barrier, which basically is broken by looks like he's punctured his left front and put him into the barrier.
I think there's a decent possibility that Hamilton might be in trouble for that incident. He was, it's not his fault. His engineer gave him incorrect information, but he was parked right on the racing line, right at the apex of Massenet, Damon, wasn't he? And that is a really difficult corner. It's a blind entry over a crest, one of the quickest corners on the track. So that's why Max Verstappen was so angry on the radio.
Look how competitive this is. It is down to Pierre Gasly. It is 0.8 of a second from Charles Leclerc, so 18th.
And that was the gap you had over Michael Schumacher 30 years ago.
You could fit 18 cars in between me and 17 cars in between me and yeah.
If only you had 18 cars between you and Michael, Damon.
I got a funny feeling it's just as hard to get 100th of a second now as it was to get a 10th of a second back then.
Well, look, the start of Q2 slightly delayed, although it shouldn't be too long before we get underway. I think I've just spied Kimi Antonelli walking back to the pits. Rosanna, what can you see?
Yeah, just walking along past the back and the swimming pool section as well. I think he'll be able to just sort of hopefully make his way back to the garage fairly easily, but how disappointing for him to then watch the session continue without him.
Indeed, no Kimi Antonelli then, despite getting through into Q2. Well, we'll just have 14 cars then taking part in this session, so no Kimi Antonelli after his crash. Gabriel Bortoletto out in his Sauber, Oliver Behrman out in the Haas, Pierre Gasly out in the Alpine along with his teammate Franco Colapinto, and Lance Stroll's Aston Martin. Behrman and Stroll both with grid penalties to come too. Behrman's 10 places, Stroll's 1 place, so that rather compounds their weekends so far. Q2 will start at 4:29 local time, so in about 4 minutes or so, but already the queue building up at the end of the pit lane. Such do they realise how important it is to get out there and find that track position. But it was interesting, the track did seem to be ramping up towards the end of that Q1 session.
It ramped up. I was watching it. Some people were gaining half a tenth. I think Hulkenberg and also Lawson gained about half a second. I mean, not half a tenth, half a second. And but Charles got about 0.8 gain on his second run. So, but I'd say Charles has been fantastic and so sharp all weekend. Let's see if he's going to be there at the end of qualifying. Good chance he will be if he doesn't make any mistakes.
We cannot accept this situation. He was so downcast about his season, an inconsistent Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, all the noises coming out from just last weekend and building up. Is it the ultimate boy cried wolf? What is happening with that Ferrari? They seem to be running well here. It is genuine pace, at least over 1 lap.
I think he genuinely thought they were going to struggle, and it did make sense at the time, because basically all year Ferrari have been rubbish in slow speed corners, and at Monaco it's mostly slow speed corners. That's why he was so depressed on Thursday, because this race means so much for him. It's his home race and he loves the track. He's brilliant at street circuits and he's been so quick here for so long. He's basically on pole pretty much every year here over the last few years. Not quite, but pretty much. But a combination of circumstances played in Ferrari's favour. Ferrari always good at Monaco. They have some special tricks here, I think. The corners here aren't as slow as they used to be because the cars are that much quicker. And because there's only really one speed range of corners, it allows Ferrari to get into a sweet spot with their car without having to compromise it over a wide speed range. And that's helped them sort of reduce some of the inherent performance compromises that their car has. So you combine all those things together and you end up with Charles Leclerc at the front again, which is kind of what we're used to seeing at Monaco.
Looking to try and get his 4th pole position here come the end of Q3. Pole in 21, 22 and last year, but it was only last year he was able to finally, break the Monaco curse for the Monegasque and convert that into a race win. So let's see how Q2 develops. Still about a minute or so less than that before we get back underway, and just sitting quietly are the 14 remaining cars waiting for that green light ever so patiently.
They are, but they're sitting there for an awful long time with the covers off of their tyres, and they've just got to do this prep lap. But maybe getting them hot, getting those tyres hot is not the problem. It's keeping them at the right temperature or keeping the temperature down a bit before they start the lap. But I mean, we've only got 15 or 14 cars on the track now, so they will get a little bit more space. They've got time to spread themselves about, but they are. I'm interested to know whether Max is. He's finding his way with the softer tyre. Wasn't too happy with it. He's only 4th quickest at the moment, 0.2, a good 0.2 off of the Ferrari. So having done a very, very quick time on a medium tyre in FP3.
Green light on at the end of the pit lane, and straight out is Nico Hülkenberg Sauber, followed by the Williams of Alex Albon while they head out of the pits. Let's just bring you up to speed with where we're at in terms of the championship. We arrive in Monaco for round 8, and it's Oscar Piastri, the Australian, driving for McLaren, who has 146 points to his name. He is 13 points clear of Lando Norris. Max Verstappen is top 3, less than 22 points covering the top 3. McLaren, meanwhile, in the constructors, have quite a hefty lead, 279 points to the closest rivals, Mercedes, on 147. Then it's Red Bull in third. Ferrari and Williams round out the top 5. Haas, Aston Martin, Racing Bulls, Alpine and Sauber making the remainder of that top 10. Cars out on track then, 14 minutes and 5 seconds remaining, and we're getting some different tyre options out there, Damon.
Yeah, I'm beginning to be a bit of an oracle, aren't I? It's interesting. They're going out on medium tyres, but then this is the first run in this session, so it may be they're trying to get rid of the traffic problem. They maybe want to do more than one lap on a set of tyres, and maybe the medium is good enough for them to get in the groove. We've got Carlos Sainz on the medium, Albon, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, both Ferraris on a medium tyre for this first run in Q2.
Yep, the medium, the C5 tyre. Pirelli bringing their softest range 2 weekends in a row. We saw them in Imola, and we saw what question marks that threw up all the way throughout practice and into qualifying. And even though we're at a different track where perhaps it may not be quite so extreme, well, we're still seeing it cause some havoc up and down the strategy rooms that litter this pit lane. Everybody then making their way out onto the circuit now, with the exception of George Russell, just waiting for the sole remaining Mercedes to return. It's been a bit of a tough weekend so far for Mercedes, seem to be lacking outright pace. George Russell with some brake problems in Q1, wasn't feeling particularly happy. He's made it through. Kimi Antonelli did, but crashed out, so he won't be taking part in this session.
Yeah, George was saying, wasn't he, in FP3, he was saying, listen guys, I've tried everything, tell me what you want me to do, because I'm running out of plans and ideas. So the Mercedes, not the car they like, and I've got to, they've been knocking on the door, but they've never broken through yet. But they somehow, George will find a way, and Mercedes will find a way, but it doesn't seem to be the circuit for them at the moment here, as much as it favours, or apparently favours the Ferrari. Ferrari seems a much happier package, where we have seen historically this season it's been quite often behind the Mercedes on other circuits.
Charles Leclerc out there on his first flying lap on that medium tyre, the yellow walled tyre, downhill braking through the Nouvelle chicane. That's where Kimi Antonelli found the barriers. Leclerc threads the needle, makes his way flat out 170 plus kilometres an hour through to back. Before you know it, he's making his way, bouncing past our commentary box through the exit of the swimming pool chicane into the slightly off camber braking uphill now out of Rascasse, up and over the crest at Anthony Nogues, downhill, hit the DRS as soon as the line comes. The rear wing flies open for Leclerc, and fastest a 1:11.314. Fastest lap time at the end of Q1 was a 1:11.2, so already only a tenth away. Less than
I mean, if you're a first run, that was pretty impressive, and he's on the medium tyre. That's what I'm being told by the screen I'm watching. I just want to check that's correct. But anyway, if that's a medium, he's probably going to go for another lap. Maybe a cool off, and you could do more than. So that means he's got fuel on board to do more than one lap.
However, Lando Norris has just gone fastest now on that soft tyre, and he's managed to put over 3.5 tenths between himself and Leclerc. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. Pole here last year, a 1:10.9, already into that.
Yeah, well, there you go. And that is a fantastic lap there from Lando Norris. Again, to go out there and confidently put in that.
Lost power.
Oh no.
Lost power.
It's George Russell on the radio saying he's lost power. He's out there on the circuit. He's coming through the tunnel so slowly. The white flag is out to show he's slow, but this is where you don't want to have a super slow car. Now the yellow flag is out, but it's got to be tight. Who's coming up behind him? Lando Norris would have been warned about Russell. He's got Hülkenberg, his teammate, and Verstappen all making their way through, and actually he's come to a halt and they've thrown the red flag. Russell, no power, is stuck in the tunnel just as they make their way. Just before actually the tunnel curves to the right hand side. He has come to a stop. He's actually got VSC mode up on his dash, but it's now gone black.
Right, restart it, turn off, turn on.
Yep, let's give it a go.
Sounds like George Russell's the one giving the instructions there, as it does turn back on. The dash is once again lighting up. Red flag is out, so everybody has to make their way back to the pits. There's noise. He's in neutral. And having a little look down at the dash, the clock stops in qualifying when there is a red flag, so 10 minutes and 8 seconds remains on the clock. Russell with no lap time on the board either.
Looks like Tsunoda and Piastri didn't get a quick lap in. They got caught out by the red flag or the yellow flag in the tunnel. So Norris quickest at the moment. Max Verstappen, while we were watching George's woes, he managed to put in a quick time and is actually second quickest at 11.1. So
I think that's game over, sorry mate. Got no battery.
And a shake of the head. His visor is up slightly, and George Russell is out of qualifying. He has reached the top 5 in every qualifying so far this year. That comes to an end in Monaco. With no time on the board, he's registered 14th, only ahead of his teammate Kimi Antonelli, who crashed in Q1 and not able to take part. This is a disaster for Mercedes.
yeah, I'd say that's a disaster. Yeah, I think I was going to wonder if that's too much of a big word to use, but I mean,
but
frankly,
I think it is,
for a team
especially
like that,
with the 2 mandatory pit stops, right, that we got coming in. You think, okay, if you've got Kimi Antonelli, who's going to be at the back as Russell stands tall in the cockpit of his car and actually bashes the halo with frustration, you think, okay, maybe actually this might well benefit us if George can get through into Q3. Maybe we can use Kimi as a second car and try and manipulate what's going on further back in the field. Now they've got 2 cars right in the thick of things in the lower midfield. Yeah. And they are currently second in the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes. They're away off McLaren, but they've still got a fight on their hands. And this is not good news for them.
They've got a fight on their hands just to get into the points, aren't they? I mean, Monaco around here, you can be stuck behind a very, very slow car for a very long time, as Fernando Alonso managed to prove. What year was that, Andrew? That was
22?
He went round basically backing everyone up for ages.
Yeah, I can't remember. I do remember, though, that there was a race in 2010 when he somehow started at the back but finished 6th, so it is sometimes possible.
I'm not. Here we're watching now. We're watching a replay of George Russell going up the hill, and as he was going up to Massenet, just you can hear the power has gone, and it's amazing. He got through all the way around to the tunnel. It must have been on tick over from past the casinos, goes down towards Mirabeau, and he's barely got any power. He's able to change gear, but and then he's accelerating down to. I presume that was a word we can't repeat, which was just came out as a beat, but that's how he felt. Obviously very disappointed to be not complete his lap. Be stuck in the tunnel. Both Mercedes are out of qualifying, and we're watching the car being pushed forwards out of the tunnel. I wondered whether they were going to drag him backwards to Portier, but they're going down to the Nouvelle chicane. It is at least downhill there, and we're watching a rearward-facing camera of the marshals who are doing a fine job of pushing that car down to get it out of the way and get this session back underway.
Coming from Mercedes just in, George lost power after hitting a bump coming out of turn 1 and was unable to restart the car after trying a number of switch changes as we were trying to talk you through. It looks like a potential electrical problem at this stage for Mercedes.
I think the engineer just gave it away, didn't he? He said they've lost the battery. So,
right there.
Which is
that's the official line.
That's why you couldn't restart it, because the battery wasn't working, basically.
Well, they were sort of making a bit of a slapdash of it, trying to get it out of the tunnel. They have now got it wheeled down and out of the tunnel, rolled it into the runoff area that takes you all the way past the Nouvelle chicane. And if you keep going straight where George Russell is, you get back to Saint-Devote. But Russell helping the marshals move that car into a safe position and well out of the track. But, well, both Mercedes cars failed to reach Q3 for the first time since Imola 2022. It's their only previous instance since Suzuka 2012. Right, well, we've got the red flag out at the moment. Everyone back in the pits. 10 minutes and 8 seconds on the clock. We're still awaiting for a time to come through as to when we restart this session. But we lost in Q1 the British driver, the rookie for Haas, Oliver Bearman, with a 10-place grid penalty to boot as well. Rosanna's with him now.
Ollie, a pretty difficult weekend for you, but the fact that we have this mandated 2 pit stop race tomorrow, is that going to change things a little bit for you?
Yeah, I think the 2 stop is going to make life interesting. At least for me, starting from last, I'm glad about that rule. Not sure if I'd be happy starting on pole, but that's the position we're in right now. I think there's some chances tomorrow, so I'm going to be doing my best.
We're looking at what's going on up there at the moment. We've got the soft tyre and the medium tyre being used. What have you learned when it comes to how to approach the strategy and how, we've got a stoppage, and how the soft behaves versus the medium?
Yeah, across one lap, the soft is quite similar to the medium. The medium is able to do a few more laps because it's overheating a bit less, but I think the soft ultimately provides slightly more grip. But it's an interesting dynamic, and honestly I would have liked a few more medium tyres over the weekend. We don't have enough to really fully understand how the medium performs, but they're both pretty close, which makes things interesting for the weekend.
Well, good luck tomorrow. Take a gamble.
Ollie Bearman there, not sounding too actually disheartened. It's a tough place to come, isn't it, as a rookie, Damon, around here. We've got, it's not just Bearman. Who was he with? Gabriel Bortoleto. We've seen Kimi Antonelli hit the wall. Franco Colapinto, only his second weekend back in Formula One. Monaco, it's a driver's track, but when it bites, it really seems to bite those who have the least experience.
Yeah, you just can't afford to lose your momentum. I mean, even if you do a light damage, you lose some track running. It's very difficult to get yourself to recover from the loss of laps, because every time you go around here, you find something else, you get dialed in and you get more familiar. I mean, I know they know this circuit. Lots of the drivers have been here before and they know it from junior formulas and stuff like that. But your brain takes a while to warm up to the speed. And these cars are really fast, so much faster than when I was driving. The precision that they drive them through the fast sections and the closeness they have to get to the barriers to be quick is just a thing to behold. But it only takes a fraction of a second of a loss of concentration and it's all over, as Kimi has found out.
Well, Q2 will resume at 16:44 local time. It's currently 16:41, so a couple of minutes until we get this session back underway. Now down 2 cars, so just 13 left. So that could really benefit some of those who have found themselves in pretty good position right now. Nico Hulkenberg's up in 8th in the Sauber. The 2 Racing Bulls are going very well too, with Liam Lawson up in 5th and Isaac Hadjar in 6th. So we wait until we get the green light again. So let's head back down to Rosanna. What are the drivers that are out been saying so far, RT?
I've had a bit of a chat with the 2 Alpine drivers who, of course, opted for the mediums at the start of the session. Pierre Gasly and Franco Colapinto, of course, making his comeback in Formula One, second race back with the team. Franco was saying to me that he just needs more confidence, and of course he's not getting perhaps that this weekend. It's difficult, isn't it, in Monaco, because you need ultimate confidence, and yet he's still learning to be confident in that particular car. And then Pierre was saying that actually, they've got nothing to lose. The car is obviously quite slow around here, but he said in comparison to other years, they'd actually be quite close. It's just it's so tight now, so it pushes them much further down the field. So I think we're going to see them take a gamble tomorrow when it comes to strategy. And this 2-stopper race, I just think everyone's been so open to it, and actually, who knows, it may throw up a few surprises come tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I think so. But for the 2 Alpines, it's still pretty rough, isn't it? You'd think maybe, we know they're down when it comes to engine deficit, you think that might mitigate some of the damage at a track like this. But Gasly, well, he'll move up a position after Bearman's penalty, but it still ties with his worst ever start in Monaco, 17th, in Colapinto, the slowest qualifier in Q1. For the first time in his career for the Argentine, just 21 years old, 10 race starts to his name. Well, the 11th one might be a long day at the office for him.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about changing drivers mid-season and the benefits, and I know there may be other factors involved with Formula One being a lot about money, needed to be competitive. But, with drivers not getting enough of a chance, it does take you time to get up to speed. And Franco has been thrown in, having been out and highly rated and wanted back in. But then Jack Doohan didn't get enough of a run, so I think it's so competitive. I think expecting people to just jump in a car and be quick. And I know that Ollie Behrman did a great job in Saudi that time, but he was in a reasonably competitive car. You know, I just wish that, you know, I don't think you can expect miracles straight off by throwing someone in the car, especially if you've got someone like Monaco to contend with, if you're not that familiar and up to speed with the new team. Because don't forget, it's not just getting in a car, it's a completely different car. And sometimes your memory banks are full of the old car, so the things that were automatic in the old car you were driving, you have to relearn in a new car, the buttons and all the rest of it. Obviously the steering wheel and the brakes are pretty much similar, but we've seen even that, you know, with Lewis going to Ferrari, he's having trouble adapting to the kind of brakes they use compared to those that he's been used to for years at Mercedes. So jumping in and out of cars and going from one team to another, it's very, very difficult. There's so much to learn and take in. You need to get up to speed and get confident, especially around Monaco. So Franco's been thrown into deep water, and we'll start from the back currently, but I wouldn't be too harsh on him, and I do feel a little bit for Jack Doohan, you know, not getting enough of a run perhaps to show what he could do.
Yeah, Jack Doohan, who is here this weekend, I think his apartment is probably not too far away from overlooking this track now as reserve driver for Alpine. We're back underway for Q2, 8 minutes and 42 seconds remaining. Lando Norris with the quickest lap time, 1:10.959, along with Verstappen, who was up there 10th and a half adrift. Leclerc, Albon, Lawson the top 5 ahead of Hadjar, Alonso, Hülkenberg, Hamilton, Sainz the top 10. Esteban Ocon is 11th, Yuki Tsunoda 12th, with Oscar Piastri 13th. No Mercedes cars into this session now. George Russell has had a power failure and is not able to get this one back going. He's just walked back to the paddock actually, and his teammate Kimi Antonelli, well, whilst the Italian made it through into Q2, he crashed at the end of Q1. So no Mercedes. It will be a tough day for them. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, Lando Norris currently leads the way in this second part of qualifying. We've lost Bortoleto, Behrman, Gasly, Stroll and Colapinto in the first part of this session. Neither Mercedes will make it through into the final part of qualifying. A power failure for George Russell. Kimi Antonelli, his teammate, finding the wall, won't be able to continue. Damon Hill, the 1996 Formula 1 World Champion, is alongside me. And Damon, this is the best day of the year, isn't it? And right now it looks like Ferrari are great. Verstappen never rule them out, and the McLarens too.
Yeah, I can't talk right now, I'm afraid, Harry. I'm watching on board of Lewis Hamilton as he threads his way through, and he's going around Portier now and into the tunnel, so it all goes dark and we can't see a thing. I hope he can see where he's going as he comes down to the new chicane. He comes over the crest.
He comes over the crest indeed and makes his way around. Hamilton down in 9th, but we're about to get into the pole position shootout in about 5 or so minutes time. Charles Leclerc still looking strong on home ground, but Norris fast as well. Six minutes and 42, 41, 40 seconds remain of this second part of qualifying. Oh, sorry, Damon, I took the Hamilton lap away for you. I'll give it back to you now. Do you want to call him over the line?
He's done it now. He's now second quickest, so he's improved. He's starting a fantastic lap. And Charles Leclerc, even as we were watching, Lewis was out there doing another fantastic lap, but they were on soft tyres this time, not on the medium tyres. And they've put in 10.5 for Charles and a 10.8 for Lewis. I think there's room for a few more cars between Lewis and Charles there. But so far they've pipped the McLarens, and but we've got still some running to do.
Right, okay, it's Charles Leclerc who's currently quickest, ahead of Hamilton, Norris, Piastri and Verstappen still in the pits. And actually, he's just been knocked down to 6th because Albon has completed his time on that medium tyre and gone quicker. His teammate Carlos Sainz down in 11th, again on that medium tyre, puts himself up into 7th. That's ahead of Hadjar, Lawson and Alonso. That's the top 10 at the moment with just over 5 minutes remaining of this second part of qualifying. At risk, Nico Hülkenberg Sauber, Esteban Ocon's Haas, Yuki Tsunoda, the big name, down in 13th at the moment in that second Red Bull seat. No Russell and no Antonelli. So that's going to allow for a couple of drivers to maybe get a bit of a reprieve. But still fine margins in this Formula 1 session. Lando Norris is currently 3rd. making his way through the Nouvelle Chicane as it currently stands. Tsunoda's out there on the soft tyre, making his way through Sector 1 now. Max Verstappen looks like he's still not come out of the pits either, so either waiting to the very end or he thinks he's got enough, but it's going to be a bit risky if he does that. Albon making his way after having just put himself up into the top 5. Norris to the line now on the soft tyre, puts himself fastest of anybody in that final sector.
Well, we still have 5 minutes to go, so I mean, if Max is keeping it till the very end, the only snag with that from where he is if something happens now, because we probably won't get much running if anything at all.
Well, he's just come out of the pit lane, as you've said that, Damon. So let's see, Verstappen on that soft tyre, making his way out onto the track. So we'll see, he should have time for one lap. He's got the cool down within him. Yuki Tsunoda, that's the sound you're hearing right now in the second Red Bull across the line, but it's only enough to just squeeze into that top 10 by 0.03 of a second ahead of Isaac Hadjar's Racing Bulls. Tsunoda will need to do more than that. 0.8 adrift of Lando Norris' quickest time. Lewis Hamilton losing a bit of time in the middle sector, makes his way up and over the crest at Anthony Oaks through the right-hander. The sun glints off the Scarlet Ferrari with Lewis Hamilton's yellow helmet outstanding with the red and the white of the Ferrari behind. Crosses the line, third fastest, 0.3 back from Norris and his teammate Charles Leclerc, but still enough to be inside that top 3. Then it's Piastri and Albon, the top 5. Albon's not done either. He's come back out on the soft tyre on an outlap once more. So interesting from Alex Albon, having also been out there on the medium tyre too. Max Verstappen, we're about to see what he's got with just over 3 minutes remaining of this second part of qualifying, the race to get yourself inside the top 10 and the pole position shootout. We've got 2 cars out already. George Russell and Kimi Antonelli, both Mercedes, won't be taking part in this session. That will give a bit of a reprieve to 2 drivers, but Hadjar, Hülkenberg and Ocon will find themselves sailing out if they cannot improve time. Good results so far for Hülkenberg and Ocon. If they can drag any more lap time out of their midfield runners, it will be a good run for them. But Verstappen is out there now, 0.8 of a second adrift of Lando Norris's first sector time. Verstappen looking good through the hairpin, round the right-hander, bit of traffic to his inside, then it's another right-hander, almost 90 degrees, out through Portier, into the darkness of the tunnel. That's where we saw George Russell's Mercedes conk out a few minutes ago. That brought out the red flag, back to green flag though, out of the tunnel, downhill braking, through the Nouvelle Chicane, left, right, then a slight right again, onto the throttle, through the left-hander of Tabac, invites you almost into the barriers on the exit. Verstappen finding time, but still nearly 0.3 down on Lando Norris at the end of the middle sector, out over the bumps through the swimming pool chicane. Raskas, the right-hander, followed by Anthony Noakes. The DRS line immediate as you stamp onto the throttle. The letterbox of the rear wing opens for Max Verstappen, 0.3 adrift at the end, but improves up to third.
Yeah, so he already really had a banker there anyway. I think it was probably safe, but that would have been a very useful lap for him to feel the tyres, feel the grip, the track, and also get himself, settled down for, as if he needed it, for the final qualifying run. So he's into Q3.
So Williams both swapped from the medium to go out onto the softs, which I wonder if they just didn't feel that maybe they needed more lap time and the medium tyre wasn't going to give it to them. We'll see what they've got. They'll have time for 1 flying lap. So too will Yuki Tsunoda, who is in 10th and right on the bubble.
A more box, isn't it? Yeah, box. I cannot do more. Good effort, mate.
Yeah. I cannot do more. Fernando Alonso quite happy. But 7th place, 0.6 adrift. It's Norris, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Piastri, the top 5. Albon, Alonso, Sainz, Lawson, Tsunoda, the top 10. Hadjar, at the moment, is down in 11th, but he's looking good in Sector 1. Nico Hülkenberg's out there on a lap as well. Let's see if he can improve. He's coming through the last corner now. Esteban Ocon coming through the middle Sector 2. Hadjar's up on time to get himself into the top 10. Will it be at the peril of Yuki Tsunoda? There's a lot of talk starting to rear its head again about that number 2 seat at Red Bull. The French rookie Isaac Hadjar has been impressing in that sister team out into the sunlight. the exit of the tunnel, downhill braking, the sun glinting off the white Racing Bulls. Albon's up on time as well, on the soft tyre, still inside that top 6. Alonso's not coming out again. Neither are the top 3, Norris, Leclerc and Verstappen, staying put in the pit lane. Alonso staying put in 7th. He feels he can do no more, but Albon are improving. So is Hadjar. Ocon crosses the line, up into 8th spot, immediately displaced by Liam Lawson. Sonoda currently looking like he's going to get knocked out, but he needs to improve. Hadjar up to 6th. Wants a Q2 for the Frenchman, but Alex Albon's flying as well. Gets himself up into the top 3. It's not going to happen for Yuki Tsunoda. He's going to need something special in this run to the line for the Japanese driver. He is out. Tsunoda will not progress through. Neither will Carlos Sainz. The Williams driver pipped by the likes of Ocon, Lawson, Alonso and Hadjar, whilst his teammate Albon sits pretty up in 3rd. Sainz relegated in Q2.
Will he be regretting that medium tyre? His teammate went on the soft and is currently sitting 3rd quickest. As we're watching, Oscar Piastri comes out of Raskas, and I don't know if he hit the wall, but he looked like he was a bit wobbly there, so he needs to worry about the last sector. Is not the quickest, so he's lost time there, but it doesn't matter because he's through to Q3. If the car is not damaged, he'll be fine for the next qualifying session, the all-important final qualifying session. Yuki Tsunoda wasn't quick enough. He didn't find the time, and he's, as you say, Harry, he's been bumped down.
Yeah, I mean, it's so unfair, honestly. I knew that's going to happen, I guess. I knew it.
Interesting.
What's so unfair?
Well, I wonder. Oh, he said tyre choice.
I think he said Hadjar, didn't he?
Yeah.
We're going to have to listen back on the transcript on that.
We'll find out. Maybe he got held up or lost a bit of time somewhere in the early part of the lap. We're watching replays of the guys, Nico Hülkenberg. Oh, my goodness, there was nothing between his wheel and the barrier there as he comes out of the exit of the swimming pool section. But anyway, that is Q2 over with. And I have to say, Hadjar is a bit of a star. I mean, he started yesterday, he's taken the wheel off the car twice. And we're watching a replay now of Oscar Piastri, definitely clouted the barrier on the exit of Raskas quite hard. You can get away with a light touch, but too much, and you will potentially damage either the suspension or the gearbox. So he has to have that checked out. I'm not quite sure what put Tsunoda out of the qualifying to get through to Q3 there, but Liam Lawson hanging on, very good, and Fernando Alonso, of course. So
no grip on this tire.
That was Carlos Sainz saying no grip on this tyre. He is out of this session, being wheeled back into his garage.
So Sainz and Alonso were the only 2 people who set their fastest laps on the medium tyre.
Well, that's not a medium tyre. I'm looking at
no, but if you look at his last lap, he was on the soft. He was 300 slower on the soft than he was on the medium. Alonso used the medium for the entire period of the session after the red flag, and he's managed to get it into 8th place on the Aston Martin. And of course, they used the medium tyre in Imola last weekend. Now, I wonder whether he's going to carry on with that strategy. He'll be pleased with 8th, but he might think, oh, maybe on the soft he can beat Hadjar in the Racing Bull, for example. But it's the juxtaposition between Sainz, who couldn't make the soft work, and the Williams, and is out of the top 10, and Alex Albon, who switched from the medium to the soft just in the same way that Sainz did, but he managed to put it 3rd. And he was 6/10 quicker than Sainz on the soft tyre. Here's Ocon's radio.
We're through, Esteban. We're through. We're P10.
No, can't believe it. Good job, good job. Yes.
Nice job, Esteban.
Started 18th, did Esteban Ocon in Imola last weekend. Well, top 10 this weekend. The Haas continuing its up and down performance with Esteban Ocon up there and Ollie Behrman down in 17th. Okay, bit of time to breathe. Grab a drink if you're on a yacht perhaps of some type, and the grandstands absolutely packed out around this principality that circles the Monaco Grand Prix circuit. Every balcony filled to the brim with onlookers enjoying one of the best Saturdays in Formula One But out of Q2, Carlos Sainz in the Williams, Yuki Tsunoda in the Red Bull, Nico Hülkenberg in the Sauber, and George Russell and Kimi Antonelli with no lap time set. George Russell with a power issue and Kimi Antonelli crashing at the end of Q1, so no Mercedes will feature inside that top 10, which will get underway in a few moments' time for Q3 and the battle for pole position. But you have to say, if you just look outside those top contenders, Damon, as you were saying, mightily impressive once again from Isaac Hadjar, who top 10 in Imola last week and is following that up at the moment. Liam Lawson, it also has to be said, has reached Q3 for the first time this season, so starting to have a bit of turnaround in form.
Definitely, I think Liam's been quite competitive this weekend, but Isaac Hadjar also has just done an amazing job too. So to literally bounce back from hitting the barrier twice and damaging the car, when you think back to Australia when he was out to put out the race and the emotion that he went through after disappointment and so forth, he's obviously toughened up a bit, because it's very easy to get your head down if you make a mistake and feel intimidated by the circuit. But he's fought back, and his fantastic performance, fantastic driving to get it up in the top 10 there nicely, well and truly in the middle of the pack.
So there was a radio message given to Verstappen in Q2 saying, okay, Max, if we swap with Yuki, we swap with him going up the hill, Yuki's on a different strategy, so he'll be on a build lap. Then the message we heard from Tsunoda was, I mean, it's so unfair, I knew that would happen, perhaps referring back to that message there. So on a different strategy, wasn't happy with how his qualifying session was unfolding, and as a result has ended up in 12th place, knocked out of the second part of qualifying here in Monte Carlo. His worst qualifying in Monaco since 2021 for the Japanese driver.
So, Harry, we were talking about the ultimate lap time, the pole lap time. What would it be? And someone projected it to be a 9.
A 9 something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pirelli said it's going to be a 9. Well, we're down 2 within half a second of that. And we thought at one time they were 2 seconds off. We thought,
never going to happen.
No, come on, But turn everything up to the max, turn the drivers up to the max, give them soft tyres, let the track evolve, and the times do drop. But I think it's well and truly within the realms of possibility we will break into the 1 minute 9s. I can't get over how quickly, when you see them start their lap, you don't have much time to talk about it, because they're back again in a minute. It just flies by. This track is being eaten up by Formula 1 cars.
Yeah, and it's worth saying that we are now entering the last 10 minutes of qualifying at Monaco, and it is the most intense experience these drivers will have all year, probably. It's like nothing else. This pole position is so important here. This track is so demanding. I don't know why I'm talking about it, because I'm sitting next to a world champion. He should be talking about it, really.
Is it demanding? Well, I can tell you for a fact, Andrew, it is demanding, and your heart rate goes absolutely through the race when you come here. And one of the phenomenons that I could never quite understand is when we turn up and you do the first laps, as we were listening to the cars leaving their garages, going down the pit lane to get ready to do their first run here in Q3. I will finish what I was going to say, which is that you do an installation lap. You go out, you go round, they say go out and come back in. So you go round the first time you arrive, in those days on a Thursday morning, you go round, you come back in, you think, well, that didn't take any time at all. How the hell are we going to race around here? It's impossible, you're joking, it's insane. And then as the weekend goes on, your brain, I guess, speeds up, and the lap time seems to increase, even though you're actually going faster. It seems like you're out there for longer on the track by the end of qualifying than when you did your first installation lap. Now, that is something that I've never really completely understood.
That is brilliant. Space-time continuum.
It's a space-time continuum. You are entering the twilight zone.
Well, we really are about to enter it as Q3. What timing was that, David? Underway, green light on at the end of the pit lane. Focus, get in the zone. 10 drivers remain in qualifying as they all try and weave their way around 19 corners, 8 to the left, 11 to the right, that make up the Monaco Grand Prix, the most famous track on the calendar. Even if you're not into Formula One, you've heard of Monaco and the Formula One cars that descend on the Principality once a year. We have Lando Norris and his teammate Oscar Piastri vying for pole position. They're leading the championship in the Constructors. It's Piastri who is currently pipping his teammate in the standings, but Lando Norris has looked the quicker of the two so far this weekend. Ferrari, what can they throw into the works? They arrived here thinking the worst. So far, it's been the complete opposite. Could Charles Leclerc on home soil make it back-to-back pole positions? Then, of course, there's Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. Never rule out the reigning champion, ever. And the rest of them. Can Williams spring a surprise with Alex Albon? What about that midfield? Fernando Alonso, the wily old fox. Could he try something with a reinvigorated Aston Martin, who has spent so long understanding the current compound of Pirelli tyre that they brought this weekend, with 2 Racing Bulls and a Haas in the mix as well? The prospect is set up with 10.5 minutes left of Q3, and it's time to find out who will be on pole position for the Monaco Grand Prix.
And we've just heard Damon Hill say time is elastic. Who is going to bend it to his will, Harry, in the next 10 minutes?
Oh, very good. Very good, Andrew Benson, the BBC's F1 correspondent, is in the box alongside the 1996 Formula One world champion Damon Hill, as we are setting the grid for the Monaco Grand Prix. No Mercedes feature in this top 10. Power issues for George Russell in Q2. A crash for Kimi Antonelli at the end of Q1 have ruled them out. Everybody now out onto the track, with the exception of Max Verstappen. Seen this actually throughout the first 2 qualifying sessions. Verstappen is never that keen to be on the circuit straight away. Always a risk around here. A yellow, a red flag, never far away. He is now out onto the circuit, as it's now full focus for 1 lap around Monte Carlo.
Yeah, you guys set it up beautifully there, Harry. I mean, the fact of the matter is now we're thinking about a world championship. These drivers know it's not just about Monaco. Lando Norris, as we at the moment was, as you said, showing good form. Oscar Piastri on the track. We're watching Oscar coming out at the back, putting in his first time run in Q3. He knows he's got to maintain his advantage over his teammate. The World Championship could depend on it. Lando Norris knows, for his part, he really could do with a fantastic qualifying. If he gets on pole here, he's got a very good chance of maximising his points and closing that gap.
Oscar Piastri, first lap time, puts it to the top of the times, a 1:10.531, with Ocon and Alonso the only other 2 drivers that have so far set a lap time. His teammate Lando Norris, the sound you can hear right now across the line, finds just over 0.5 of a second to put himself now in that number 1 spot. The 2 Ferraris will be next across the line. Hamilton 0.5 second adrift after his first run out there on the soft tyre. Charles Leclerc up and over the crest at Anthony Noakes, round the final corner, up through the gears, making his way into 8th gear as he crosses the line, gets closer than his teammate Hamilton, less than 0.2, splitting the McLarens and the leading Ferrari. Charles Leclerc into 3rd. Everybody out there on the soft tyre, with the exception of Esteban Ocon, who has gone out there on the medium, and Alex Albon also going out there on the medium tyre too.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Now, McLaren seem to be turning the wick up when it comes to the final part of qualifying. We've been used to seeing Charles, when he goes out, putting himself on the top of the list and actually being quickest, but he's now slipping fractionally behind the McLarens. But as always, there is nothing between Lando and Oscar. I mean, it is 600ths or 67 thousandths of a second, if you want to put it like that. And it's just nothing.
Fernando Alonso has just put his Aston Martin up inside the top 6 ahead of Liam Lawson, still awaiting lap times from Alex Albon, Isaac Hadjar, and the man you're listening to now, Max Verstappen, through the swimming pool chicane. Quick left, right, then out the other side of it, over the yellow sausage curb. Don't take it too much because you'll send your car flying into the wall. Sweeps that Red Bull through the double right-hander of Raskas, out and over Anthony Noakes, down the start-finish straight. What's Verstappen's opening gambit? It is enough for 4th quickest, 0.2 adrift of the McLaren. So it is advantage Lando Norris and McLaren, with Piastri in 2nd, Charles Leclerc is 3rd, Verstappen 4th, Hamilton 5th, Esteban Ocon doing a good job on that medium tyre to put his Haas in 6th spot. Then it's Alonso, Lawson, Albon and Isaac Hadjar, who did go out there and then came back into the pit. I think he was out there on a soft tyre initially.
So I saw on that lap, we didn't see Lando Norris's lap really, but I saw that Oscar Piastri had a little bit of a slide as he was coming through the harbour front chicane, and that, I'm not sure whether it was enough to give away the 700. So he's behind Lando Norris, but it looked like it might have been. Alonso, meanwhile, although he's behind Ocon, he used a used soft on that run, so there should be more to come from him.
Albon out there on that medium tyre. Alex Albon, who has had 3 top 5 finishes so far in this Formula One season, enjoying his best season yet. What's he got on the medium tyre? Puts himself up inside the top 6, 7.5 tenths adrift, but on that medium tyre, looking strong for the London-born type.
Yeah, he's sort of rejuvenated, isn't he, Alex? He's found a lot of form this year, and he's probably motivated by having Carlos Sainz as a teammate. He wants to show that he's every bit as good as someone like Carlos, and good performances here in Monaco. But I think that lap time, we're interested to see whether he's going to do a cool lap and then do another lap on the medium or not. But he went out at an odd time. He went out after everyone had completed their laps. So that worked well for him, and he's established quite a good first run. As we're watching a replay, I think, of Lewis Hamilton clouting the barrier, not too hard. It seemed to move the barrier more than it affected the car as the exit of the chicane. So that was his run. He judged it finally. You don't want to hit it any harder than that, though.
That's the second time in a row Hamilton's done that on a lap. He's not quite finding that entry to that second part of the chicane, the swimming pool, second part of the swimming pool chicane, I should say. Very easy at the moment. It's a hard corner to judge, isn't it, Damon? Because you've got to predict the amount of understeer you're going to have as you turn in.
You're right, Andrew. As you know,
and judge whether the car's going to slide enough for you to miss that inside barrier.
Yeah, it's a funny thing because we think in terms of when we're watching drivers, we tend to think of you want to stick to a line, but of course you're sliding, so everything is a blurred line. It's not a clean particular line. If you don't go fast enough, the car will turn in earlier than if you were going a bit quicker, and if you turn it too early, you hit the barrier. So it's an odd thing, but you have to be pushing the car so that it slides and then just drifts and then just gets past the barrier. If you don't push hard enough, then you'll hit it. That's the contradiction. And I'm just looking here at the time that Lando did was a 10.4. I think a 9 is probably optimistic, but I have been proven wrong before.
Just coming out though to that barrier on the inside of the swimming pool chicane at the exit, it's almost made to have a little hit with it, because 2023, where we saw a massive, brilliant battle for pole between Max Verstappen and Fernando Alonso as well, who was really finding time and so close to that barrier. But we are in the final 3.5 minutes of qualifying. Who will be the 2025 pole sitter for the Monaco Grand Prix with the best view in the house? Well, currently Lando Norris, fastest of anybody in the first sector. Piastri, not as quick as his teammate through sector 1, navigates the Nouvelle chicane into the final sector. Piastri picking up the pace in the middle sector. And Norris, though, finding time, trying to match his teammate. Piastri's up by almost 3.5 tenths of a second. Oscar Piastri looking for his third pole position this season, his first pole around the streets of Monte Carlo. But Norris also up in the middle sector, but it's not as quick as his teammate Oscar Piastri. It is nip and tuck between the two McLaren drivers. It's Piastri to the line first, a 1:10.140 for Oscar Piastri. Provisional pole. Can Lando Norris do anything about it? Yes, he can. To the top, but by barely anything, less than a tenth of a second. Norris, 1:10.1. Piastri, a 1:10.1. Charles Leclerc currently third. Verstappen fourth. Hamilton fifth. Albon, Ocon, Alonso, Lawson and Hadjar, the only one who doesn't have a lap time on the board, leaving it late for the French rookie to set his first flying lap. But we've seen the opening gambits from the two McLarens. Let's see what Lewis Hamilton, what Charles Leclerc, what Max Verstappen have all got for us.
Are McLaren going to do another lap?
They've gone
time. Early. Yeah,
they've got time. This is the thing. They've gone early. 15 thousandths of a second separate the two McLaren drivers. Were they worried? Did they just want to get their lap times in, just in case we see something untoward in these last couple of minutes? Lewis Hamilton now gearing up for his final flyer around the streets of the Principality.
This is it, 1 minute and 44 seconds left. It gets pretty juicy now as people get desperate, and they've put in bankers, and they will be taking way more risks now. They know where they stand, and that is not enough. They want more. And Lewis Hamilton exits the casino, goes very close to the barrier on the exit into Mirabeau. Is that little banked corner, the wheel comes up in the air and you kind of feel this loss of grip, but it's so grippy, and it's because it's banked, and then you slide round Portier and the exit here into the tunnel, and Lewis puts a bit of a slide and definitely is on the edge and pushing this car now, this Ferrari, this beautiful looking Ferrari with his yellow helmet, going down to the Nouvelle chicane, and he's done that very neatly, has avoided the pitfall of hitting the barrier like Kimi Antonelli did, through to back this astonishingly quick and terrifying corner and through the swimming pool section. Will he hit the barrier on the exit? Looks like he got away with it that time. Looking like he's pushing well. He's got his quickest time up. I don't know if it'll be good enough for pole position, but we'll see as we cross the line. He's coming up to the line now.
Let's see, just a couple of metres to go for Hamilton. I don't think it's going to be a challenge for pole. It's enough for third fastest for Lewis Hamilton. His teammate, though, fastest of anybody in the middle sector. Can Charles Leclerc on home soil, can he take back-to-back pole positions to the line for Charles Leclerc? The grandstands roar. It's provisional pole for Charles Leclerc, but Oscar Piastri, fastest of anybody in the middle sector, but he's lost time in the first sector, but he's lost time in the middle. Max Verstappen's out of it. He's down in fifth. He's 6/10 adrift. Can Piastri, the man who leads the charge in the championship, scuppers Leclerc's day? No, he can't. Down in third. Lando Norris is the last roll of the dice to stop Leclerc from pole, and he does it right at the close of qualifying. Lando Norris breaks the hearts of Monegasques everywhere and steals pole position away from Charles Leclerc, and to rub salt into the wound, he sets a new track record as well. Lando Norris on pole for the Monaco Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc second on the front row, with Piastri third, Hamilton fourth, Verstappen the top five, Isaac Hadjar. What a qualifying for the French rookie in the Racing Bulls, who follows up a top 10 in Imola with another one, a top 6 for Hadjar. Alonso 7th, Ocon 8th, Lawson qualifies inside the top 10 for the first time this season, and Alex Albon, the Williams, I think, left wanting more, finishing 10th.
Yeah, they sort of fizzled out the Williams challenge. They're looking good, but of course it's all about Lando Norris. He's done it. He's broken into the nines. 1 minute 9, a new track record, 1 minute 9.954, and he's absolutely done what he needed to do for the World Championship. It's an emphatic pole position. He's not put a foot wrong the whole time. We saw Oscar Piastri put it in the barrier earlier in the weekend, but Lando timed that to perfection, went out behind his teammate, but he found time on a used set of tyres. He basically...
All right, mate, good effort. That's pole. Yeah, all good. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, all good. All good. You're on pole position for the Monaco Grand Prix, and your challenger has got to get past the Ferrari. We've got this issue of the two-stopper race, which is going to be fun.
Is it the 1 year you don't really want pole?
It's maybe the one you don't want. No, you always want pole. But look at the gap. It's insanely tight between these two. I mean, it is almost less than a tenth every time. But Lando Norris has pulled it off. He's actually done what he really needed to do. He's had a few hiccups along the way with his challenge to the championship, but back on target. Gets congratulated by his teammate Oscar. There's no hard feelings between these two, but there's intense competition as Lando gives raised fists in triumph, and the old famous the almost famous clap. You can hear it actually. That was the slapping noise is Zach congratulating him. Now he's hugging his dad and his mum.
Straight to his family there. Well, for the man whose weakness this season has been in qualifying trim, at the race where it almost matters the most, he puts it on pole position. Lando Norris, the 25-year-old Briton, his second pole position of the season, will have the best view in the house. But with that second mandatory pit stop rule looming over them, well, what will that do? Charles Leclerc and the Ferrari will be pleased with that front row start. However, was pole there for him, having led FP1, FP2, FP3. The Monegasque pipped the back-to-back pole positions. Oscar Piastri with a bit of work to do. I think he'll take that, though. Third fastest at the end of qualifying after a crash into the wall in FP2, a touch of the barrier as well in the second part of qualifying. Piastri pushing hard, but Norris secures McLaren's first pole in Monaco since 2007 with Fernando Alonso that year.
Can't do the maths, that's what, 15?
Well, let's never ask for the maths, Damon.
That's a long time
That
ago.
is a long time ago, but McLaren, even with that, are the most successful team in Monaco.
It's 18 years ago.
That wasn't Damien Hill, that was Zach Brown celebrating there.
Yeah, he's very emphatic as well, isn't he, Zach? He likes to express himself.
It certainly does. And, well, rather muted getting out of the car was Lando Norris, but I'm sure elated on the inside.
Cool. He's cool.
Well, I thought that was Oscar.
They're both cool. They're both very cool.
Well, 78 laps of racing await and 2 mandatory pit stops, but the best Saturday of the year comes to a close, and we really were on the edge of our seats right until the checkered flag in qualifying. And it was Lando Norris who sealed the deal, a 1.9954. It's a new track record for this fabled street. Charles Leclerc less than a tenth away, well, actually just over a tenth. Charles Leclerc back from Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri third, Hamilton fourth, Verstappen the top 5, Hadjar, Alonso, Ocon, Lawson, Albon the top 10, Carlos Sainz 11th ahead of Yuki Tsunoda 12th, Nico Hülkenberg 13th, George Russell, power issues for him. There'll be a lot of work overnight in that Mercedes garage because while he may be 14th, Kimi Antonelli is right behind him, having crashed at the end of Q1. Disastrous day for Mercedes in Monaco. Gabriel Bortoletto 16th, Oliver Behrman qualified 17th but will receive a 10-place grid penalty. Pierre Gasly 18th, Lance Stroll 19th with a 1-place grid penalty, and Franco Colapinto 20th and last. But let's hear from your pole sitters and the top 3.
Oscar, it was an amazing lap, an amazing session, but you've just come up short in third position. How was it from the cockpit?
Intense, as it always is around here. Quite reminiscent of last year, to be honest. My first lap felt good, and then the second lap, a mistake in the chicane, in the harbour chicane, and yeah, left a little bit on there. I think to beat Lando today was going to be tough. So well done to him. But no, still pretty happy with it. It's been a pretty messy weekend so far. So to come out with a lap that I thought was pretty good and third is a decent result.
You say messy. We've enjoyed you getting really friendly with the barriers the whole way through, including a big tap at Q2 as well in the Rascasse. Looks like it's just been difficult to find the grip and find the lap together for you overall.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think I've hit more walls this weekend than I have in my whole career. So it's been untidy, but yeah, just been struggling to get into the groove a bit. I think in qualifying was much happier with things and I felt pretty good. But yeah, we've been doing some digging this weekend, and to come out with this result is a decent effort.
Yeah, a great effort. And tomorrow it's a 2-stop race. You've got 2 McLarens in the top 3. Have you been thinking about that already, or focusing on qualifying?
We have thought about it, but a lot depends on where you qualify. So we're in good positions, obviously, but yeah, it's still going to be an exciting race tomorrow with the 2 stops. So let's see what happens.
All right, well done, Oscar. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Jolyon Palmer doing the questions to Oscar Piastri as Charles Leclerc is next up.
Charles, Monaco master, you had a bigger cheer than that when you came across the line and had provisional pole position, but in the end it's just second place. Was there anything more in there for you, or did you give it everything?
Well, there's always something more to be done, no? I mean, but at the end of the day, this was the best we could do. I think the lap was really good. The first lap was a little bit of a shame because that gives you a bit more confidence for the second run when you have a first good lap. I couldn't have that. I had a sector 2 traffic, but it's the way it is. Just obviously very frustrated. We know that we don't quite have the car to go for wins this year, but this weekend the car felt good, and starting second here it's going to be tricky to then take that first place.
I mean, you're still on the front row, you'll still have a clear view to the first corner, but what is it about this track that just suits you? Because watching your laps through practice and through qualifying, you've been lighting up the timing screens. I know you haven't quite got pole, but it's been a pleasure to watch, and you really do seem to have something with your history here as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I like city tracks in general. I like to really go all into qualifying and take maximum risks, and I think this most of the time pays off. Sometimes it doesn't pay off, but yeah, I'm proud anyway of the result we've had today, as on paper it was going to be a very difficult weekend for us. At the end of the day, it's not that bad.
Well done. You've still got a Ferrari onto the front row. You've kept a lot of fans very happy here, and hopefully can give us a great race tomorrow. Well done, Charles.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And now your pole sitter.
Lando, that was an amazing qualifying session. 2 laps that were pole. One was taken away, and then you did it again right at the death.
Taken away? What?
Only provisionally by Charles.
Okay.
You got it back, don't worry about it. But you kept everyone on their toes, and in the end, first pole since Melbourne. What a place to do it.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, so I feel good. I don't think you realize how good this feels, for quite a few struggles over the last couple of months. Especially here in Monaco. Is a beautiful place, the hardest track probably to do it, up against a hometown hero as well, so I'm very proud of the whole team. We've worked a lot this week, actually over the last few months, to get to a day like today, so I'm very pleased.
And the run plan was different for McLaren than it was for anyone else. 2 flying laps at the end. Feels like a little bit of a risk, but it obviously paid off.
No risk from our side. It's what we believed was best before quali, and it's what was proven to be best after. So no, we stuck to what we believed in. Like I said, the team have done an amazing job. So thanks to everyone here, everyone back in the factory, because these days don't come easy, And of course, proud to give something back to them.
And how has it been the focus for you today? Because I saw your first flying lap in practice, and you looked on it from the word go today. The mentality, the difficulty of driving around this circuit, 19 corners, putting them all together and getting pole. How do you keep the focus?
That's the tricky part, trying to consistently find lap time, because it's what the others are going to be doing is improving more and more, and you got to take the similar amount of risks. But I mean, when you get to Q3, the final lap is just about who can, in a sense, who can risk a little bit more and who can commit a little bit more. But it was a nice lap, it was a well put together lap, and it feels very good when you cross the line and it's all paid off, so I'm very happy.
It was brilliant. You have got a 2-stop race tomorrow, so that's going to come in as the mandated new rule. How does that change things? Are you thinking you're going to have to push from the word go?
Honestly, I have absolutely no idea, and at the minute I don't care. I'm going to enjoy today. I've worked hard for today. That's what tonight's for. Tonight's for to prepare for tomorrow. But I'm just very pleased with today. I'm happy with quali. I'm going to live the moment for a little bit, and then I'll focus on tomorrow.
Absolutely fair dues. Enjoy it, Lando. Well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Lando Norris on pole position for the Monaco Grand Prix. His last 4 wins have been from pole. Could this be Lando Norris getting back onto the top step of the Grand Prix podium come the end of Sunday afternoon for the first time? Well, you've got to go back all the way to the start of the season. We shall see. He'll start ahead of Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri third, Hamilton and Max Verstappen, your top 5 as we head into 78 laps of racing on Sunday afternoon into the unknown, with 2 mandatory pit stops required, a tweak to the rules. How will that play out? I hope you can join us for it. Rosanna Tellen, Andrew Benson, Damon Hill and myself will be here to guide you through every single lap, and you can hear it all on BBC Radio 5 Live, lights out from 2 o'clock. But I think that just about does us here from Monte Carlo. We're off to the harbour, and we'll hand you back to sunny Worcestershire. Kevin Howes and the team.
It's a bit cloudy, but I'll take that, and terrific entertainment as always there. Many thanks, and look forward to tomorrow, of course, when we see how it all plays out. In the end, Checkered Flag Podcast is where you get all the information. Terrific stuff, where they do so much explaining. If it's not your thing, you get to find out what's going on. And that in itself is just amazing. Good stuff. Okay, so let's get to some cricket. The test match has finished, England-Zimbabwe.